Hello, this is Rob Ryder, actually Robert Allen, son of God. Here is one of his people. Prefer to be known as Rob Ryder when it comes to talking about the law, so that I know people that I've talked to. They call me that, know what I'm talking about. My friends call me Rob or Bob. Dog calls me Woof. Cat calls me Meow. But at the end of the day, I am an immortal living soul created in the image of God, and I'm domiciled in this earthen vessel. And this goes out to my good friends and brothers up in Alpena, Rich, Tom, and Rory. We're going to go to a township hall meeting in the township of Osneek. And Tom had asked me if I could put a little something together as a presentation, and I said yes. Then I had to chuckle because there's just so much to say and so much to tell. I got to keep it relatively short. So I'm going to do the best I can. But for any township officer, employee, anywhere, would like to know more about this stuff, please don't hesitate to call me. Phone number 616-712-6179. I'll tell you all I can for as long as you can sit there and listen. And but let's get started with what I might show you, because you've had the wool pulled over your eyes the same as we have. And I'll show you that everything that we're doing is by the law, comes out of the Michigan compiled laws, the MCL, out of the Constitution, out of old books of law, out of the Bible. Let's begin. I also do a talk show. The ID is 122402. It's easy enough to find. I've done a couple of calls. You know, they're just interesting things to listen to where we talk about these kinds of things. Court of Record at AOL.com is my email address. And I'm going to pull some stuff out of one of my favorite books, Blackstone's Commentaries on the Laws of England and Wales. Rich has a copy. Maybe he'll even bring it with him sometime, and you can take a look. But you'll find this in Book 3, Chapter 4. Now, if an attorney or some learned person at the law says, well, this is old archaic law, if he's saying that to me, I'm going to say, well, thank you very much. First in line, first in time. And is not the Bible ancient law? That usually shuts them up. This law is as valid today as it was when Blackstone wrote this back in the 17th century. His books are considered a book of authority. If you bring them into a court of law and use them as your evidence, it's the law today. Apparently it was even cited in Roe v. Wade, so the Supreme Court uses it. But without reading all of it, just what he had to say. So in here he's talking about the public courts of common law and equity. We are next to consider the several species and distinctions of courts of justice. Courts of justice. We're all about justice. If you ask us what we're looking for, we want a court of justice, which are acknowledged and used in this kingdom. They are either such as are of public and general jurisdiction throughout the whole realm, or such as only of private and special jurisdiction in some particular parts of it. Of the former, there are four sorts. The universally established courts of common law and equity, the ecclesiastic courts, the courts military, and the courts maritime. Now turn around and look at that gold fringe flag, and that's because I'm saying court military. Sometimes. Territorial court. And first for such public courts are the courts of common law and equity. So, the policy of our ancient Constitution, as regulated and established by the great Alfred, was to bring justice home to every man's front door, by constituting as many courts of judicature as there are manors and townships in the kingdom. Every township has a court, and it's a court of justice. These little courts, however, communicated with other of larger jurisdiction, and those with others of still greater power, ascending gradually from the lowest to the supreme. So the idea was, if I had a complaint, I would go to the township supervisor, give him the complaint, saying that I believe what was on there to be true and I want it investigated. And if it was too big for him, then he's required by law to hand it up to the next higher justice. And all justices form the one court of justice as called out in the Constitution. And it just continues up until it gets from the lowest to the Supreme Courts. Once a justice of the peace whatever you call yourself in a township, put your seal on a piece of paper and put it in your docket book. In my opinion, the Supreme Court has just gotten original jurisdiction and concurrent jurisdiction. Now, if you would, please ask your township attorney if I'm correct, if he's sitting in the room. So it was just courses of justice flowing from the large stream from the king as the fountain. The king was the fountain of all justice. Through his superior courts, subdivided in smaller channels until the whole part of the kingdom was plentifully watered and refreshed. We're supposed to be using these courts of justice, and instead they have us going to, I don't know if you can read this, Alpena County Probate Court. This is on Manta, manta.com. You'd be surprised how many things you think are government when you put them in. You see things like this. Alpena County Probate Court in Alpena, Michigan is a private company categorized under county government. It's a private company. It's no better than Walmart. I don't know why anybody would think it has any jurisdiction over me. So I'm going to rebut the presumption. And if this doesn't take too long, I'll show you another one. This is the Alpena County Register of Deeds. Alpena County Circuit Court in Alpena, Michigan is a private company categorized under the county government courts. So again, private company. Forget the rest of it. It's a private company. It's Walmart. It has nothing to do with a living man. We don't consent to the jurisdiction. So, and just to show you, this is what it says in the state constitution, judicial power in a court of justice, divisions. The judicial power of the state is vested exclusively in one court of justice, which shall be divided into one Supreme Court, one court of appeals, one trial court of general jurisdiction known as a circuit court. Why does yours have number 28 on it in Alpena? Sorry about that. Phone keeps ringing. So where were we? Anyways, okay, one court of justice. Okay. Had the same thing in Mexico. In like manner, we read of Moses that finding the sole administration of justice too heavy for him, he chose able men out of all of Israel, such as feared God, men of truth, hating covetousness, and made them heads over the people, rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, and rulers of tens. And they judged the people at all seasons. The hard cases they brought unto Moses, but every smaller matter they judged themselves. We have every right to bring you a complaint because we're the electors of the township. And if it's too big for you to handle in your position, you must pass it up to the next highest justice. And he must do the same. They're called pleas of a crown, and I'll let Rich explain those to you. Now, okay, so that's old English law. Okay, yeah. Where's this coming from? Okay, well, who cares about that? Let's see what it says in the statutes. So most of this stuff is going to be out of the Michigan compiled laws, section 45.3, county body corporate purposes. Each organized county shall be a body politic and corporate, and hold real and personal estate for the use of the county. County property. All real and personal estates heretofore conveyed by any form of conveyance to the inhabitants of the county, shall be deemed to be the property of such county. We do not want to be seen as inhabitants of the county. We demand to be inhabitants of the organized township. As a body corporate, again, this isn't us. We're immortal living souls created in the image of God, and we're living in our earthen vessels. This is our body corporate, our all capital letter name, our landed estate. It's our Ponderosa, and we're Ben Cartwright. We're owners. You are supposed to be the agents for the owners to help us carry out our business. Are you an organized township? Because if you are, then here's what happens for inhabitants. We have some powers to sue and be sued and appoint necessary agents and attorneys for that purpose. We get to appoint agents and attorneys. So the township attorney I just appointed to handle my business. If I'm an inhabitant of the township, that is my right, according to the Michigan compiled laws. And it goes on to say the supervisor of each township shall be the agent for his or her township. So I just appointed the supervisor, and I appointed the attorney to be my agent and attorney. They just became my fiduciaries. You just became my sureties. Inhabitant defined. The word inhabitant means a resident of a city, township, village, district, or county. Yeah, I wish I'd taken the number off this one, but I forgot to put it down. But, you know, it's easy enough to... I think it's 41.8 maybe. I don't remember. The supervisor of each township is the chief assessor. So if you don't have the qualifications to be the chief assessor, you're not the supervisor. That's what it says. If the supervisor is not certified at the proper level, the township board shall provide appointment of properly certified assessors. The assessors are appointed pursuant to this section. The supervisor shall be the chief assessing officer. The supervisor shall be the chief assessing officer. You have to have the certificate to be a chief assessor, or you can't fulfill the functions of the office. So now your deputy just became the supervisor, and he shall be the secretary on the board of review. So who's ever on the board of review as the secretary is the supervisor. Raise your hand if you're the secretary on the board of review. Now the township supervisor may appoint deputy township supervisor who shall serve at the pleasure of the supervisor. And he's going to take an oath. We'd like to see it. And he shall possess the powers to perform the duties of the supervisor. In case of disability, death, did you know you're considered deceased, sickness, absence, you're lost across the sea, these guys can explain it to you. You know, it's just getting too deep, right? But that's where the basis comes from. Some other interesting things. Emergency financial manager. If an emergency financial manager has been appointed, please let us know. They may exercise the authorities' responsibilities provided by this act. Pretty powerful act when you read it. Because on the finding of a financial emergency, the local government is in a condition of severe financial stress. The local government financial emergency exists. The local government entered into a consent agreement. Did you enter into a consent agreement saying that we're in financial emergency? We want to see the agreement. And the court shall not set aside the determination of the financial emergency by the governor unless it finds the determined to be the following: not supported by competent material substantial evidence on the whole. I want to see the damn piece of paper under the seal of a court that says you could make it a financial emergency. The governor shall declare a local government in receivership, appoint emergency manager. Emergency manager shall have broad powers. Upon declaration of receivership, during the pendency of the receivership, the governing body and the chief administrative officer of those local governments may not exercise any of the powers of their office except as specifically authorized in writing by the emergency manager. Please raise your hand if you're the emergency manager. Got something to ask you. Show me the proof. Shall be an individual. Shall serve at the pleasure of the governor. Who's the emergency manager in your township? The local government shall be removed from receivership when the financial conditions are corrected in a sustained fashion as determined by the state treasurers in accordance with this act. All right, financial emergency manager. What does the township need to do to get out of receivership? Because as long as it's in receivership, for a local emergency of a local government which is in receivership, they will put us under Title 11, the bankruptcy. 11 U.S.C. 101 to 1532. The local government. And who's the local government of a township? Is it the board? Why, no, it's the electorate. They're the government of the township. How do we become an elector? A qualified elector. Are we qualified electors now? Where is the book of registered electors? Because they're the government, and if we're considered the electors because we're part of the government or part of the township, and we haven't paid some tax, now we're a delinquent peer, yeah, we're just not a qualified elector, but we're still an elector. And you just put us in bankruptcy by allowing this financial emergency to exist. And guess what? A copy of to the superintendent of public instruction, if the local government is a school district. Is Osneek Township the local government, or is it a frickin' school district? This section empowers the local government for which the emergency manager has been appointed to become a debtor under Title 11. Well, again, they just made the local government, which is the people, a debtor under Title 11. Let somebody put our municipal lien on our property, a lien or claim existing in favor of a municipal corporation against a property owner for his proportionate share of public improvement made by a municipality whereby his property is specifically and individually benefited. Well, the nice thing is, in the city of Alpena, right up the road, you can go to the city treasurer, whose duty, upon request made by any party, to issue his certificate showing all unpaid taxes, special assessments, and other charges which are a lien upon the specified property. I want to know if there's a lien against the land, not the real property. The land that the real property sits over top of in the fiction. What are the mortgages on the land in the township? If the mortgage is more than 5 years old, it's been satisfied. Release the mortgage. Get the satisfaction of mortgage. Because they got these things that they like to call statutory liens. A lien by this act made a statutory lien upon net revenues of water supply sewage disposal project. Did we do a sewage disposal project? We got any statutory liens against the township? Subject to statutory lien, payment in full, principal and interest upon revenue bonds issued under Chapter 13. So that's how we take care of the statutory lien. Right? Show the guys the books. Well, look at this. We can put a lien on for hospital authority. Local government and school district physical accountability excerpt. The legislature further determines that its vitality necessary to protect the credit of the state and political subdivision. You notice this is 2011, right? They just did this. Financial stress or financial emergency to remedy the stress of the emergency, restructuring of contractual obligations, powers and duties of state and local government officials, and emergency managers. Might be good to read the act. Because if in the judgment of the emergency manager no reasonable alternative to rectifying the financial emergency of the local government which is in receivership exists, then the emergency manager may put us into Chapter 11. Copy of the superintendent of public if the local government is a school district. Okay, so who's the local government? You township, local government, school district. Who is it? Financial emergency manager. Did you recommend to the governor that the state treasurer, the local government, be authorized to proceed under Title 11? Was that your best judgment? That's how you take care of the people? Because this section empowers local government, which is the people, for which an emergency manager has been appointed to become a debtor under Title 11. Thomas Jefferson set the townships up to be elemental republics. Everyone's a republic on its own. We have no more to take care of than the 6x6 township, or whatever the actual district is that they've made it. And it's under common law, small f federal law, protected by the Constitution, which says the federal government will protect the law of nations. And we live under the law of nations in the township, not under what they call private international law, the conflict of laws, but under public international law, the law of nations. And these statutory liens do not depend on common law. In other words, they don't follow the law or any specific contractual provision. They're not lawful. That's what it's telling you. It's not a lawful lien. They don't even need to be frickin' recorded. But the contract that started them has to exist. Come on, financial emergency planner. Give it up. Because the other thing they're going to do is give you a third-party tax collector. If a financial emergency exists in a local government, school district, a city may issue financial recovery bonds, amounts greater than limitations. If you do that, the Emergency Municipal Loan Act comes into play. Any financial recovery bonds issued in this section are not subject to some Section 5G. Financial recovery bonds are issued under this subsection by a city with a population less than 10,000. According to the latest government status, we got some more things coming in. If the city enters into an agreement with the third-party tax collector, so if you entered into an agreement, show the agreement with the third-party tax collector, pursuant to which the third-party tax collector has the duty to collect taxes that otherwise would be collected by the city treasurer. So instead of them going to the city, when they say city, township, village, district, borough, instead of going into the coffers of the local municipality, they're taking them. And if the city and the third-party tax collector enter into an agreement, show the agreement providing for the direct payment of taxes to a trustee. Who's the trustee? A statutory lien and trust is created applicable to those tax revenues received or to be received from the third-party tax collector. Where's the proof? Because which is a statutory lien and trust paramount and superior to all other liens and interest of any kind. Therefore, there's always a lien against the land of the township, against your personal estate, which is your landed estate is your all capital letter name. All the accounts underneath it, no matter where they are, no matter if you think they're dead or not, is your property, and you are the owner of the credit side. The lien and trust created under the subsection for the benefit of the bondholders or others is perfected without delivery, recording, or notice. If you want to get the real answers, stop right now, put the attorney under oath, and ask him some questions. But we'll continue on. As used in the subsection, third-party tax collector means a party that is not the city treasurer or other elected or appointed city official, so nothing to do with the city, with whom the city has entered into a contractual agreement. So there's an agreement someplace in the township if we have a third-party tax collector, pursuant to which the third-party tax collector agrees to collect the taxes otherwise would be collected by the city treasurer. Who's collecting the taxes for the township? For the purpose of this subsection, principal and interest may include termination fees and credit enhancement fees. Could be the lien's already set off and all we need to do is have the termination recorded. $10 is keeping the township from being out of hock as far as the office of the recorder is concerned. Because whatever in the office of the recorder is the law. That record's the highest there is. What kind of records does the office of the recorder of the township have? You got any liens in there? Any encumbrances? Any special assessments? Any $2 taxes? 6-cent fines? What kind of stuff you got in there against the people in the land? Let's go ahead and take care of them. The agreement shall be authorized by resolution or order for the city approval and local emergency. Okay, now we got more and more statutory lien trust created again. The lien and trust created under the subsection is perfected without delivery, recording, or notice. So if you get a statutory lien, it becomes a lien and trust, paramount to all, doesn't need to be recorded, it doesn't have to be any notice, don't even have to deliver it, and yet it's perfected. Well, you know what? That doesn't follow the law. I want the one court of justice to determine if this is a lawful lien. I want to enter a complaint and have it determined if the statutory liens against the township are a lawful lien. Please get it into the one court of justice and let them decide if the law is being violated. Okay, nothing in this subsection shall abridge or reduce the ability of the state treasurer to withhold distributing aid for the city or from a city. Withholding distributable aid from the city. So we should be getting this aid for the city, but we're not getting it because they can do whatever they want. You guys signed a frickin' agreement. Us, the people, were sleeping. You, the elected, became puppets. You hold offices, but you have no power. So the system the bankers wanted is perfect. You own the office, but somebody else controls it. Own nothing, control everything. That's how it works. So what's it take to be an elector? Well, the Constitution says every citizen of the United States who has attained the age of 21 has resided in the state for 6 months and who meets the requirements of local residence provided by law. Please tell us, what are the requirements to have local residence in the township? We demand to have it under the seal of the township board. Shall be an elector and qualified to vote at any election except as otherwise provided in this Constitution. It didn't say registered to vote, it said qualified. We're really only interested in what happens in the 6x6. We'll let the rest of it take care of itself. Let's take care of the 6x6 first. You need a strong foundation. The elector of the township have the right to vote on all matters and questions before a township meeting of electors. When are the meetings of the township electors? And when any person claiming the right to vote is challenged, the moderator shall rule on the challenged person's qualifications as an elector. So brothers Tom, Rich, and Rory want the moderator to tell them here, now, and on the record, are they qualified electors? And if not, why not? And what needs to be done to make them such? Do it, or you are contributing to obstruction of justice. I want to file a criminal complaint into the one court of justice. You can either be a witness or a defendant. Any concealment is obstruction of justice, contempt of court, treason against the people. File a criminal complaint into the one court of justice. So, who are the qualified electors? We want to know that because apparently they exist. How do you become a qualified elector? Who, what, and where? What's a registered elector? Show us the book. Show us the book of registered electors. When is the annual township meetings of qualified electors? How do we call an emergency meeting of qualified electors? Because what we want to do is we have the power to grant and vote sums of money. The inhabitants of the township shall have the power by vote of registered electors of the township to grant and vote sums of money considered necessary for defraying proper charges and expenses arising in the township, unless the creation of a debt or liability or payment of money has been authorized by vote of registered electors. Can't be done, right? So we need to get the registered electors together, vote for a payment of the money to satisfy the debts of the township, to remove the statutory liens against the people and their land. And everybody in your township who has land needs to record their deed one way or the other. The deed, the land patent, the title deed, whatever, needs to be recorded in the office of the recorder of the township. And we need to make sure there are no mortgages or liens against the land. And you need to have them in. You need to have a record of them, and we want to see them. And we're going to satisfy them because we can. We're going to appoint the chief assessor our agent, the attorney our attorney. They're going to do an inquest of office found so we can establish our rights, title, and interest to our land, our earthen vessels, and our property, our all capital letter name landed estate, and all the accounts under it. We're going to take it out of the county where it's considered county property. We're going to put it in the township, and we want the township office of the recorder and all other offices of the recorders to reflect our ownership and our right of use. It's our property. Render to Caesar what's Caesar. Render to God what's God's. Render to me what's mine. So in our Michigan Constitution, the judicial power of the state is vested exclusively in one court of justice. We are the small s state. That's what a man is. He's a state. Our judicial power is vested in one court of justice because the king could never go against a subject directly. He always had to go through his king's bench. And this one court of justice has one Supreme Court, one court of appeals, one trial court. Not number 28, has one probate court, and it's not a private company. And then there's courts of limited jurisdiction that the legislature may establish by 2/3 vote, members elected and serving. That's what those other courts are. They have nothing to do with this. I don't want some frickin' inferior court. I want my business going to the one court of justice, because a man can choose the court he wants to take his case to. And we're not charging our brothers, we're going to charge their deeds. It's contempt of court to sue in the name of a fictitious plaintiff. It's contempt for an attorney, a solicitor, to do business in the city without a license. You're supposed to be protecting us from that. Any summonses or subpoenas are to be given to a man, you're supposed to deliver them. Each organized township shall be a body corporate with powers and immunities provided by law. We want to know what those are. And we demand justice, no inferior courts, by the legislature. So just real quick, here's a form that is filled out by the petitioner is the foreclosing governmental unit for the county. We'd like to know who that is. Because of the unpaid taxes, interest, penalties, fees, opposite each parcel of property set forth in the petition. So because we didn't pay some frickin' tax we didn't know, you checked the box that we didn't pay our tax, it put a valid lien on the property and have remained unpaid for sufficient time to require inclusion in this petition for each parcel of property against which taxes and interest and penalties and fees are assessed. We demand not to be behind anymore. We are only responsible for the municipal taxes of the township. We are inhabiting our landed estate, body corporate in the township, appointing the chief assessor as our agent and the attorney as our attorney to sue and be sued for us. You are now our fiduciaries and our sureties. I want you to go find out where our personal property is, what liens are against it. I want it on a certificate. If you can't put it on a certificate under the seal of a court of justice, it doesn't exist in the territory. And you can take that crap back there to the frickin' democracy and stay there with it. Stay out of our townships. I want to point out for everybody, in this particular township, recently there was a sting by the state police, and they made a big deal of it to put it into the newspaper that they called these township superintendents to get their permission to enter the township, and of course they were granted permission. Their blessings. They did it because they can't come into the township unless they're invited. And we may not be inviting them anymore. The electors will decide. And one last thing. And we're going to decide right in the township hall for this reason. Other statutory bodies, part of the township, district court. We're going to hold court in the township. Now apparently you could have written an agreement with the court not to hear court in the township. Well, we like to see if there's any agreements that keep the district court from coming to the township, and if not, then that's where it's to be held. Call the judge and tell him to get his ass out there. We have business to attend to. So I'm going to leave it at that. Thanks for listening, Tom. I hope you find it helpful. I tried to keep it clean. I hope I didn't say the F word too often. If I did, I apologize. I love you all. I have nothing against the township people. You didn't know the truth either. We've all been lied to. But when you see the truth and you turn your back on it and you've taken an oath, well, you better go read Deuteronomy. You better go read Ezekiel. Because if you run from the Son of Man and try to hide, the Creator will find you. So we accept your oath, bind you to it, remind you of your fiduciary duty. Now let's go make it a better place for everybody. All right.